psychopathy in the hope that this information might be useful to you given the current state of the world. But first, a few disclaimers. One, I'm obviously not a licensed psychiatrist and should clarify that even for professionals, diagnosing a personality disorder is no easy matter. Two, mental illness, especially where personality disorders are concerned, is very much a complex issue, one that is often obfuscated by inaccurate portrayals in popular culture. While I hope that this presentation will give you some insight into the nature of psychopathy, I hope you too will limit your amateur psychiatric assessments to fictional characters. So with that said, how do you spot a psychopath? First things first, clinical definitions for psychopathy are notoriously vague. In fact, no such official diagnosis exists in the current DSM-5, the American Psychiatric Association standard, albeit still controversial guide to psychological disorders. Instead, the term psychopath is often used interchangeably with the terms sociopath and antisocial personality disorder. While the latter is in fact in the DSM, the term sociopath represents an outdated expression often used to denote a less serious psychopath, whose maladaptive behavior is the result of nurture rather than nature. So sociopaths are diet psychopaths. How then is psychopathy defined? Psychopathy is traditionally characterized by persistent antisocial behavior, such as a pervasive and often violent disregard for the rights of others, impaired empathy and remorse, deceit and manipulation, impulsivity, irresponsibility, and bold, uninhibited egotistical traits. So, from this checklist alone, we can see that some of pop culture's most famous psychopaths aren't really that psychopathic at all. Looking at you, Norman Bates. For the record, suffering from dissociative identity disorder does not make you a psychopath. So, how is psychopathy diagnosed? While there are several personality tests that contain subscales relating to psychopathy, the two most common assessment tools for this particular disorder are the Psychopathy Personality Inventory and the Hare Psychopathy Checklist, which most consider the gold standard for assessing psychopathy. Originally developed by Canadian psychologist Robert D. Hare in the 1970s, the psychopathy checklist was influenced by both Hare's work with male criminal offenders, as well as Herbie M. Cleckley's seminal 1941 study, The Mask of Sanity, the first text to offer a comprehensive clinical depiction of psychopathy. Cleckley's text famously observed that psychopaths, unlike patients afflicted with psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, the primary symptoms of which are hallucinations and delusions, can appear quite normal and even superficially charming, thus hiding behind a mask of sanity. The Hare Psychopathy Checklist Revised still employs Cleckley's original description of the psychopath, adapting this description into a 20-item rating scale. Through a semi-structured interview, subjects are given a score out of 2 on 20 traits that measure central elements of the psychopathic character. The PCLR thus measures how closely a test subject matches the perfect score of 40 that a classic or prototypical psychopath would receive. In the US, scores over 30 would qualify for diagnosis of psychopathy, while in the UK, anything above a 25 would be enough to indicate psychopathic tendencies, like our dear friend Ted Bundy here. Interestingly, Belgian psychiatry professor Samuel Leistet recently used the psychopathy checklist to analyze 126 psychopathic characters from over 400 films made in the last century. Unsurprisingly, very few movie psychopaths were realistic, but Leistet did find that portrayals of psychopaths in film are gradually becoming more accurate. So who were the most realistic fictional psychopaths? Leistet argued that No Country for Old Men's Anton Chigurh and Henry Lee Lucas of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer both fit the bill rather perfectly by displaying a total lack of empathy, emotional poverty, criminal versatility, impulsivity, and ruthlessness, among other telltale traits. So, now that you know what a true psychopath looks like, a true psychopath clearly being someone with ridiculously bad hair, I'd like to talk a little bit about something numerous journalists and even some psychiatric professionals have been pondering. Is Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States, a psychopath? Yes. Tony Schwartz, Trump's ghostwriter for The Art of the Deal, admitted that were he writing Trump's memoir today, he would have called it The Sociopath, which, as we've covered, is really just a way of saying psychopath light. So let's run Trump through the Hare Psychopathy checklist, shall we? Yes, please change slides. Starting with glib and superficial charm, I can think of no other reason why 63.8 million people could have voted for a man who looks like this. Although Trump himself would very likely tell you that it's because he's a super successful businessman who happens to be very smart and has the best words. So let's just give him 2 points each for grandiose estimation of self and pathological lying as well, bearing in mind this is a man that just last week claimed he had the biggest electoral win since Ronald Reagan, and then claimed that was just the information he'd been given. So 2 more points for failure to accept responsibility for one's own actions as well. Other things like sexual promiscuity, many short-term marital relations, lack of realistic long-term goals, looking at you all, and callousness and lack of empathy are hilariously on the nose for Trump, though decidedly less funny when you realize this man was elected leader of the free world. So in total, I've got Trump sitting comfortably at a 30 out of 40 on the PCLR, indicating, surprise, surprise, that he does indeed clear the threshold for psychopathy. And apparently, I'm not the only one who's come to this conclusion. Just ask all the outlets Trump has been calling fake news in the last couple of days. So while I know at the beginning of this presentation I warned that it's best to limit our amateur psychiatric assessments to fictional characters, let's be honest, Trump is more a caricature than a real person, and thus we find ourselves in a real-life episode of The Twilight Zone in which a psychopath is calling all the shots. And I don't think it really gets any scarier than that.